Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are very happy to meet again on the Islamic Notes channel, where we together bring Islamic values to life through stories that are full of meaning and life lessons. Every story we present is not just entertainment, but also a reminder that in every test there is a hidden blessing. In every step, there is an opportunity to get closer to Allah. These stories teach us to remain patient, steadfast in goodness, and always be grateful for every provision of His. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the stories full of wisdom that we present regularly. Support from all friends means a lot to us to continue presenting useful and inspiring Islamic content. Let's start the story. Kosovo, a small country in the Balkan region that declared its independence from Serbia in 2008, has a predominantly Muslim population. However, the presence of Islam in Kosovo is not the result of modern development, but has long historical roots since the Ottoman Empire. Islam has been an integral part of the cultural and social identity of the Albanian people in Kosovo, although its influence has experienced complex dynamics due to political change, war, and globalization. First, history of the entry of Islam to Kosovo. Islam entered the territory of Kosovo in the 15th century after the Ottoman Empire conquered the Balkan region. During this time, many local residents, especially ethnic Albanians, converted to Islam both for personal beliefs and socio-political reasons, such as economic opportunities and security under Ottoman rule. The Ottoman Empire built many Islamic infrastructures, such as mosques, madrasas, and hospitals. Cities such as Prizren and Peja became important centers of Islam and culture in the Balkan region. Islam developed not only as a religion, but also as a social and legal system that influenced the local social order. 2. Islam as a cultural and social identity. The majority of Kosovo's population is ethnic Albanian, and around 90 to 95% of the Kosovar population adheres to Islam, although the level of religiosity varies greatly. For many Kosovar Albanians, Islam is part of their cultural heritage that distinguishes them from their neighbors in Serbia and the rest of the Balkans who are predominantly Orthodox Christians. However, in the context of modern Albanian nationalism, especially since the 20th century, there has been a tendency to emphasize ethnic identity over religious identity. This is seen in the widespread secular attitude among the political elite in urban society, where Islam is valued as a cultural heritage, but not always strictly practiced in everyday life. 3. The era of communism and religious repression. During the period of communist rule under Yugoslavia, 1945 to 1990, religious practices, including Islam, were strictly suppressed. The communist government closed mosques, banned religious teaching, and monitored the activities of clerics. Islam was transformed into a hidden personal and cultural identity, rather than an open public expression. Nevertheless, Kosovo Muslims maintain their traditions and beliefs informally. After the fall of the communist regime and the collapse of Yugoslavia, Kosovo society again showed interest in religious life, including the rebuilding of mosques and Islamic institutions. 4th, post-war Kosovo and the revival of Islam. The Kosovo War, 1998 to 1999, left deep scars among the Kosovar population. After the end of the conflict and NATO intervention, and Kosovo's declaration of independence from Serbia in 2008, there was a revival of religious life in the country. Many Islamic organizations from abroad, especially from the Middle East and Turkey, entered Kosovo to help rebuild mosques and provide humanitarian aid. However, the presence of these foreign organizations also gave rise to new challenges, such as the influx of conservative or even extreme ideologies. Several local religious institutions and the Kosovar government began to tighten regulations on foreign religious organizations in order to maintain social harmony and prevent radicalization. 5. Contemporary Islam in Kosovo. Today, Islam in Kosovo shows a variety of faces. The majority of Muslims in Kosovo are Sunni Muslims of the Hanafi school of thought, a legacy of the Ottoman era. However, there are also small Sufism communities, especially the Bektashi order, which are quite active in the southern part of Kosovo. Islamic life in Kosovo is moderate and tends to be secular in its social expression. Many people identify as Muslims but do not practice their religion regularly. Mosques are full during Eid al-Fitr, and Islamic weddings are common, but many young people are influenced by Western lifestyles. 6. Challenges and hopes for the future. Islam in Kosovo faces a number of major challenges. Secularization and globalization are turning many young people away from religion. Radicalization of a small segment of society exposed to extreme ideologies from outside. Lack of strong, formal religious education, which makes religious understanding shallow and vulnerable to misinterpretation. Identity politics, which can obscure the relationship between Islam and Albanian nationalism. However, Islam also has a great opportunity to contribute to building a just, peaceful, and moral society. Many religious leaders and Islamic institutions have begun to be active in interfaith dialogue, education, and social projects. Thousands of Kosovars convert to Islam. Amidst the beautiful landscape of the Balkan mountains, a spiritual transformation is taking place. Kosovo, a small country in southeastern Europe that was once plagued by conflict and political uncertainty, is now witnessing a surprising yet touching phenomenon. Thousands of its citizens are choosing to convert to Islam. This phenomenon not only reflects religious dynamics, but also illustrates the search for identity and inner peace amidst the chaos of modernity. Islam is not a foreign religion to the people of Kosovo. Since the 15th century, when the region was part of the Ottoman Empire, it has been an integral part of the culture and life of the people. For centuries, Islamic teachings blended with local traditions, giving birth to a peaceful and devout Muslim community. However, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the communist domination of Yugoslavia in the 20th century, religious practice was suppressed. Mosques were closed, religious education was banned, and Islamic identity was systematically suppressed. After Kosovo gained independence in 2008, religious freedom was restored. Slowly but surely, the people began to search for their spiritual roots. And in the last decade, a startling phenomenon has begun to emerge. More and more people, especially the younger generation, are becoming interested in Islam, not just culturally, but as a holistic way of life. After the Kosovo conflict in the late 1990s, society was hit by trauma, economic instability, and a moral crisis. Many young people felt lost, trapped in the hedonism, drugs, and materialism of the West that were infiltrating the media and pop culture. In that spiritual vacuum, the light of Islam began to reach hearts that longed for peace and true meaning. Several young Kosovar figures, including former musicians, social activists, and even social media influencers, openly announced that they had converted to Islam. Their confessions sparked a wave of discussion and curiosity. Thousands began attending Islamic studies, studying the Quran, and studying Islamic history in the Balkans. This phenomenon was not the result of propaganda or pressure. In fact, most converts said they were attracted to Islam because of the beauty of its teachings, pure monotheism, peace and prayer, and the simplicity of the Prophet Muhammad's life that is so relevant to the concerns of modern man. Arjeta, a 22-year-old student, said she found Islam while studying philosophy. I was tired of searching for meaning in various Western thoughts. When I read the Quran and saw the order of the universe, my heart felt at peace. I knew this was the truth I had been looking for. Meanwhile, Besnik, a former famous DJ in Pristina, is now a Dawah activist. She said, I used to live in the glitz of the night world, but it was empty. After getting to know Islam, I found true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever I want, but freedom from the slavery of lust. Stories like this are now common in Kosovo. Not a few families have collectively returned to practicing Islam more firmly, making their homes a place of study, dhikr, and sharing food with others. Although many have welcomed it positively, there are also many challenges faced by those who convert to Islam. Some face pressure from their environment or family who are still secular. However, with determination and community support, many remain steadfast in their new faith. Islamic missionary institutions, both local and international, are now present to accompany the converts. Mosques are starting to fill up again, and the younger generation is showing a high interest in Islamic studies and Arabic. More than just a change of religion, This phenomenon shows that Islam in Kosovo is not a foreign idea, but rather a spiritual homecoming, a return of humans to their natural state, to God Almighty, after being tired of navigating the world without direction. The thousands of Kosovars who chose Islam are not just statistics, but a wave of spiritual awareness born from historical wounds and the emptiness of the meaning of life. They are the new face of Islam in Europe, peaceful, open, and sincerely seeking God. This phenomenon reminds us that guidance is the prerogative of Allah, which is given to whomever He wills. And in the Balkan mountains that were once stained with blood, now grow gardens of light from hearts that return to Him. So set your faces straight towards the religion, Islam. Stay on the nature of Allah who has created man according to it. QSR Room 30. Muslim life in Kosovo. Kosovo, a small country located in the heart of the Balkan Peninsula, is home to a mosaic of civilizations that have been formed over centuries. Amidst ethnic and religious diversity, Muslims have played a significant role in shaping the country's national and spiritual identity. Despite past oppression, war, and pressures for secularization, Muslim life in Kosovo is now reviving, carving out new hopes amidst the challenges of the times. Islam, deep historical roots. Islam came to Kosovo in the 15th century, when the region was part of the Ottoman Empire. For more than 500 years, Islamic teachings were not only accepted, but also grew and developed organically within the local culture. Mosques were built throughout the region, Islamic education was introduced, and clerics were revered as spiritual leaders of the community. Islamic traditions in Kosovo reflect a unique acculturation. Islam is not present as a foreign element, but has become part of the identity of the Kosovar people, especially the ethnic Albanians who are predominantly Muslim. In fact, during the Ottoman era, Prizren, one of Kosovo's historic cities, was known as the cultural and spiritual center of Islam in the Balkans. Dark times in the communist era? However, things changed drastically in the 20th century, when Kosovo was part of Yugoslavia, and even more so when communism took hold under the regime of Josip Broz Tito. Religious freedom was severely restricted. Mosques were closed, Islamic educational institutions were disbanded, and religious practice was considered backward and dangerous to the progress of the country. For decades, the younger generation grew up without formal religious education. Islamic teachings could only be maintained secretly within the family environment. Even so, the light of faith never really went out. Behind closed doors, parents still taught their children to recite the Shahada, recite Al-Fatiha, and uphold Islamic moral values. Post-independence revival. After Kosovo gained de facto independence in 2008, religious freedom was again recognized. This was a turning point for Muslim life in Kosovo. Mosques were renovated, religious education was reintroduced, and people, especially the younger generation, began to take a renewed interest in Islam. Muslim life in Kosovo today is a portrait of a spirit rising from the ashes of history. In cities such as Pristina, Prizren, Jakova, and Peja, mosques have become centers of social and spiritual activity. Friday prayers are attended by thousands of worshipers, and Islamic studies are held regularly with great enthusiasm. Young men and women in Kosovo are now actively studying the Quran, Hadith, and Islamic history. Some have even chosen to study in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other Muslim countries. Institutions such as Bashkësia Islami, Kosovës, Islamic Community of Kosovo, play an important role in organizing official Islamic religious and educational activities. Islam in daily life. The majority of Muslims in Kosovo are Hanafi. The practice of Islam tends to be moderate and tolerant, reflecting the open Balkan tradition. Although secularism is still strong in the state structure, the Muslim community continues to strive to maintain its identity in everyday life. The 5 daily prayers, the Ramadan fast, and the celebration of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are important moments that strengthen the solidarity of the community. The tradition of sharing food with neighbors and the poor during Islamic holidays is still strongly maintained. The hijab has begun to be seen again on the streets of Pristina and other big cities. Although it was considered taboo during the communist era, Now many young women choose to wear the hijab as a form of pride in their Islamic identity. There is also a trend of modern Muslim clothing that remains modest but attractive, showing that Islam and modern aesthetics can go hand in hand. However, Muslim life in Kosovo is not free from challenges. The influence of secularism and liberalism from the West is still strong, especially through the media, education, and state policies. Some schools prohibit the use of explicit religious symbols, including the hijab, which has sparked public debate. Islamophobia, although not as severe as in Western Europe, also occasionally appears, especially after global events that are unfairly associated with Muslims. However, the Muslim community in Kosovo has shown resilience in facing these challenges in a peaceful, intelligent, and organized manner. Another major challenge is the economy. Kosovo is still one of the poorest countries in Europe, and many Muslims have to migrate or work hard to make ends meet. However, in these limitations, solidarity and the spirit of mutual assistance among fellow Muslims strengthens life. Muslim life in Kosovo is currently in a phase of spiritual growth. With increasing awareness, education, and support from the global community, Kosovo Muslims have great potential to build a civilized, peaceful, and just society. They are not only the preservers of ancient traditions, but also the pioneers of Islamic revival in the heart of Europe. In the midst of a global moral crisis, Kosovo Muslims bear witness that Islam is not a threat, but a solution, a way of life filled with peace, love, and devotion to God. And let there be among you a people who call to goodness, enjoin what is right, and forbid what is wrong. And they are the successful ones. Ali Imran 104. Conclusion. Islam in Kosovo is not just a belief system, but an important part of the history and identity of the community. In facing the currents of modernization and social challenges, the role of Islam as a source of ethics, solidarity, and spirituality is still needed. The future of Islam in Kosovo will be largely determined by how the younger generation interprets their religion, whether as a passive legacy or as an active way of life that provides meaning and direction in an ever-changing world.